As you would have heard in the interview with Nicola Willis prior an hour ago, she introduced into Parliament a bill which it seemed quite prosaic at the end of the day, and has been very poorly, if I was to cast a personal view on this, handled by Labour. The easiest thing to do with a bill that you don't like or that might potentially cause you some sort of embarrassment because it's exposed a policy position that isn't your own is to send it to a select committee, and if a bill goes to select committee, it pretty much dies there, to be honest with you. Well, certainly 10 weeks out from an election. I mean, there's going to be no public submissions prior to the election, no hearings, nothing, so it doesn't really matter. But yesterday, on Wednesday night for the private members bill, on a bill which you've heard Nicola talk about, which would have divided up parental leave so it could be taken by both the father and the mother, or I presume the mother and the mother, or the father if they come from gay or lesbian households, between two people anyhow. And so that it could recognise that every household could make their own particular provisions. The Labour Party turned it down. And I've read some of the speeches now that were said in the House from Labour turning it down, and they were a lot like, well, a woman's place should stay at home for the first 26 weeks anyhow, and it should be the woman. And you go, okay. Joining us to talk about that and what it would mean for the early childhood sector in general is the Chief Executive, the spokesperson for the Parents' Council, which is not an organisation I'd heard of until yesterday, Camille Furnandiz, and she joins us now. Camille, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
Now, first of all, Parents' Council. I haven't heard of you before, but that doesn't mean anything. What are you exactly?
Very, very new. We were formed about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, there you go.
So that's why you haven't heard of us. I did speak to Sean a couple of weeks ago about us. So basically, parents and children, who are the most important part of the ECE sector, actually don't have a voice in the sector. And so I've been asked to help form this group with a not-for-profit organisation called My ECE, who represents all parts of the ECE sector, so that there is a voice from parents when required, and we can survey parents to ask them about their opinions on things in terms of things when they come up in the media or points of view will need to be made. And I've just volunteered to be the spokesperson at this stage for that. I'm doing it for the love. I'm not paid. I have no political affiliations. I don't work in ECE. So basically, so it's in its infancy, but it's to give parents a voice within the sector, which currently is very lacking.
Well, it goes right throughout the education sector, full stop.
Yes.
Good luck to you. You got children of your own, Camille?
Yes, I do. I've got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yes, and isn't it interesting? It's that what motivates you when you've got your own children going through something. You go, oh gosh, that's I need to do something about that, and you have. Well done.
Yes.
Now,
thank you very much.
As I understand, also you've got some official backing as well. I think the Office of Early Childhood Education say that they support the formation of council and see a need for you. So that's good. That's good to have that. All right. So you're going to have I hope a good future. Now, moving on.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me about how you perceived Nicola Willis's bill? So when you looked at the bill, what do you think that it did that you liked or didn't like?
Oh, look, I applaud it totally. As a mother who, as you say, whether it's a mother or a father, but as a mother myself, with the father of my children, he got 1 week off that was paid by his work when I had both of my children. And back then, when I had my first child, I got 12 weeks off. I got much less pay than you do currently. And so I think all the moves forward that we've had in terms of going to 26 weeks, and they've just recently increased it to, I think, $712 from the 1st of July, so much more money, is all moving in the right direction, and that was all under the government we currently have. So to suddenly stand in the way of how a family can use that leave just absolutely flabbergasts me, to be honest. And I think it's almost like they've supported all they can to support the baby, but suddenly when it goes to actually supporting the parents, I don't know why they've suddenly stopped it. And I totally side with what Nicola is trying to do. health of the mother is not taken into any of this, and you're physically tired, you've got this new person that you have no idea how to care for, you're trying to learn how to feed them and get them to sleep and all those sorts of things. And so to be able to have your partner at home with you during that time and support the mother or the primary caregiver, I just think would go a huge way towards the physical and mental health of that person. And also the bonding of the other person to the baby. It allows them to choose that they want to spend that time bonding with the baby as well.
No. We've all gone through that. We know what it's like. It's a difficult time. Mm-hmm. Just take me through, because a lot of us, I haven't. My youngest is 14, so I don't. Parental leave wasn't really an issue in those days, 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now the new rules, 26 weeks. Does that mean that, as you say, there's one primary parent? It's the mum who gets access to it, and the dad gets 1 week of unpaid leave, or 2 weeks of, if they've worked for an employer for, I think, an average of 10 hours a week for 6 months, or 2 weeks of unpaid leave if you work for an employer at least an average of 10 hours a week for 12 months. Is that the whole quantum for dad?
You can, yes, but you can, the mother can go back to work during that 26 weeks, and the father can then be the primary caregiver. So you can share the 26 weeks, but you can't do it simultaneously.
Right. So,
you can't do it together.
So if mum and dad both decided to stay at home, they would essentially accrue 13 weeks each. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's what Nicola Willis's bill did.
Yes, well, she'd like you to be able to do it at the same time, so that the mother and the father can be home together.
Right. So they'd have 3 months off together on parental paid leave, and then end of parental paid leave, and obviously one partner goes back to work and the other one might stay, or whatever. That option was going to be available through this bill, yeah?
Yes, I think it's actually 13 and 13 though. So you could split the 26 in half, the 3 months. Oh, sorry, yes, you're right. That's 3 months.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I can't do maths clearly.
Yep, that's all right.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it. So you could choose to do it together for 3 months at home.
Yeah.
And then you both go back to work, or you say it's one stays off work unpaid.
Or it could be 6 weeks, and any derivation of that led to 26 total, yeah?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, all right. Now I've got that now. Thank you. All right, so given that, see, the thing that's really interesting to me, and Nicola actually mentioned it herself, she says, well, actually my husband is the primary caregiver in our family because, I'm a full-time politician and he stays home and looks after my 4 children and does that job. And as I said, I'm a single dad myself, so I've raised my children myself. Certainly since I was a certain age. Is it also true that this is quite sexist, and it says it identifies just women, irrespective, as being the primary caregiver?
I don't know that there's anything necessary exactly in the bill that says that, but if that's the stance that the Labor government are taking with it, then it is incredibly sexist. I myself run a business, and I needed to get back to work fairly early myself, and so my husband did take some time off unpaid, certain days off with our children as well to the primary caregiver, and so it is sexist, assuming that it is always going to be the mother and it's the mother's job.
Yes.
I totally, yeah.
Well, and the other, listen, I'm not being nasty here, but there are some women, I've had numerous conversations with such who are career structured and but who want to have children, who say, listen, let's be perfectly honest with you, my husband is a much better caregiver than I am. I go and earn the work. He cares. That option, again, not available now as a consequence of Labor voting down this bill. No,
not at all. And some husbands probably potentially maybe are more nurturing, or fathers, or want to take on that role and maybe do it better. I guess it just comes down to the individual family and what they think is best in their own circumstance. The unfortunate thing is that we all have to work these days, and most people have both parents or caregivers working. The cost of living's high, and all of that, and so it's complicated these days. It's not like it used to be back when our parents were raising us, and the mother did take 5 years off when the child went to school, and then they went back into the workforce. There's so many other factors that are at play these days, And I think for a lot of women as well, taking a decent amount of time away from their career actually potentially puts them behind in their career. So they make the decision that it is better for them to be at work and continuing on the career path that they've chosen. But blocking this bill certainly stops people having that choice and being able to make the decision for themselves about what works best for their family situation.
What does this mean in terms of your nascent council starting up? Will you be lobbying, though, for this policy change irrespective of the election?
Oh, look, we certainly will be putting a survey out this week to our members that we've had signed up so far and questioning them about their views on it and what they would like to see. And then we'll be putting a statement out through the Office of Early Childhood Education around what the parents' view of this is. I think that's important that is put across, yes.
And finally, where are you? Where are you based yourself? In Wellington?
Wellington, yes.
Yeah, well, you're in the right place, I guess, to form an NGO, I have to say, and to get access to all the people you need to get access to.
Definitely.
I guess I live in a rural, sort of provincial area of New Zealand. We don't get to see a lot of NGOs in our areas, and they usually aren't representatives of them. Yet obviously our children go to early childcare centres, to primary schools, to secondary schools and the like as well. Have you got any sort of plans to extend yourself beyond the metropolitan areas?
Well, at the moment, I mean, everything we're doing is online. It's all through communications through email and through posts through my ECE. So it's not necessarily Wellington focused as such. It's just that I'm here. We're up to about 500 members. So as that membership grows, I certainly will be looking for help from other parents who would like to be part of this organisation. And I think it's important to get a good representation geographically and of people from different walks of life. So definitely, that's definitely not going to be restricted to Wellington. It's just that that's where I happen to be, and we're still quite small.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. So, Camille, finally, if I want to be able to join this organisation, and I come from Cromwell, or I come from Tikawata, or anywhere else, how do I actually contact you to indicate my preference?
So you go to myece.org.nz and you'll get a pop-up. myece.org.nz.
Yeah.
And as soon as you go to that website, you'll get a pop-up that comes straight up, and it will instruct you to fill in your details, and then you will be able to join the Parents' Council, and then you'll start getting communication from the Parents' Council, and then you'll be able to respond back and forth. But you can do it through the My ECE organisation as well. They've got a contact form that would come, or they'll send through to me in the meantime. But the first thing we really want to do is get as many people joining so that we can get as many people surveyed and as many opinions and as many people as parents being able to have a voice.
All right.
Is the initial part of it.
Good on you, Camille. Thank you very much for joining us and for your vantage on that latest bill of Nicola Willis. Appreciate it.